Hey, it's a new day and welcome back to my channel and to my kitchen. Today I'm going to take you along for, actually this is a little over a week of different recipes and things that I've been making for my family of 6 as a mom who enjoys cooking when she has the time but doesn't always have the time. So I hope these recipes are helpful for you, and just who doesn't love a little food inspiration? So I hope that I can provide that for you today. So I started out the week by making one of my make-ahead breakfasts. This oatmeal, absolutely amazing. Now the concept is not so much, it's super quick, simple, easy, throw a couple ingredients in a bowl and you go. This is a decadent, delicious, pretty good for you actually, oatmeal recipe. I put local honey in it, and it does have some brown sugar. It has butter in it, eggs. It's so good, so filling. You will not be hungry after you eat this oatmeal. So it's definitely worth getting all the ingredients out for, but whenever I make this, I always make a double batch, and my little kids eat so much lately. Honestly, what you didn't see is that I just made 2 batches of this on Saturday, and I was making another 2 batches again on Monday. It is that good. I'm actually considering changing the recipe. This recipe is on my website, and just making it a double batch to begin with, because I rarely ever make 1 batch anymore. It's just, if you're gonna get all the ingredients out, why not make a double batch? So definitely check out the recipe on my website. It is the berry version, and here today you're gonna see me making the chocolate chip version. That's what I usually do because my kids love chocolate, and it's basically the same exact thing, except I just put all the dry ingredients together, all the wet ingredients, combine them, pour them into the 9x13 pans, and then sprinkle them with chocolate chips. Also, pro tip, this last time I actually just doubled the batch and put it into 1 9x13 pan, so it was a lot thicker, and it only took about 10 minutes longer to bake in the oven, so you could try that as well, but you just have to play around with your bake time. But today's version, I also made a small corner that was banana and chocolate chip, and it tasted as amazing as banana bread. It was so good. I'm definitely doing this again. My kids did not really go for it, which I was completely fine with because I kind of wanted it for myself, to be honest. You can eat this cold. I always heat it up in the microwave or serve it warm with milk on top, and it is always a hit. Batch breakfasts are definitely where it's at, and so I only need to cook breakfast about twice a week when I do it this way. It just made sense to start out with a breakfast recipe because it was the start of the video. But backing up, for Sunday lunch, I made these burger packets in the oven. Now the concept came from a campfire meal that we had one summer with some friends, and I've been making these off and on for lunches most of the time when Josh is not around, because they're not his particular favorite. If he has a burger, he wants a burger from the grill. But my kids love and beg for this meal often, and it is so easy. I set my oven to time bake, and we got home from church. We were greeted with the amazing smell of roasting potatoes, carrots, and burger juice. It was so good. So you can definitely play around with this recipe and have a lot of fun with it. But the basic construction of this is you just rip up a bunch of tinfoil squares, and then on that, you want to place some carrots. Pro tip, baby carrots are just the easiest and the fastest because they're already peeled for you. But I did whole carrots and had to chop them all up and everything that Sunday before we went to church. But so we have carrots, we have potatoes, and then I do not like onion. Most of my kids do not like onion either, but you can't skip the onion rings on this because it just gives a really good flavor. So I like to top the veggies with onion as well. And then I do seasoned salt, sometimes Italian seasoning, or lots of salt and pepper. Coarse salt is always the best. Yeah, I just kind of play around with it. And then I put the burger patty on top. Our freezer is full of ground beef and burgers from my parents' cattle. We get about half a beef now and again, but you want to put the burger patty on top so the juices can drizzle down in through all those vegetables. And then I like to top the burger with Worcestershire sauce. Look, I said that right, guys. And maybe a little bit more seasoned salt or your favorite burger seasoning. And then you just wrap everything up into your tinfoil envelope, and make sure that the open side is always up, just so you don't have to worry about juices dripping down. But I like to throw the whole thing onto a cookie sheet just so it's easier to pull in and out of the oven. And if there would be any juices escaping, you know, it would catch that. I did make Josh a veggie packet, but then when we got home, he used used the cast iron skillet to make himself a smash burger of sorts. It was kind of a hybrid of the two. But while he was doing that, I pulled the packets out of the oven and topped them with shredded cheese. You could do a cheese slice too, but then you put them back in the oven for, I would say, about 10 minutes, or you could even turn your oven off, and as it's cooling down, they can just sit in there a little bit. You just want to get the cheese melted down into everything. So basically, there's no cleanup from this. It's amazing. You sit down, it's like a one-pan dinner kind of, and I just like to serve it with some more Worcestershire sauce on the side. You could do ketchup if that's what your kids like, and I particularly like ranch with my potatoes, but that's totally up to you. Very simple, easy lunch, and I need to make this more on Sundays, especially after a busy day at church.
I got some distractions happening.
This next recipe was new for me, but I thought I would share it because it was a little bit of a learning lesson. I am very visual and I can get sucked into holes online when it comes to recipes, where I'll Google a recipe and then I'll watch 15 different versions of it and then make my own. So I will include down below what I did here, but I was trying for the first time buffalo cauliflower. I absolutely love chicken wings. I'm a self-proclaimed wing snob. And so I was like, why not see if vegetables can be just as good? So I wanted to try it out. I had bought 2 cauliflower heads, but I just decided to use 1 the first time around. And then I just put my seasonings into a bowl and mixed those all up. And I had buttermilk, which is kind of new for me. Guys, if you don't have buttermilk around, you can always just sour it up with a splash of lemon juice or vinegar and let it sit for 10 minutes. That will make the milk become cultured or sour, whatever you'd like to say. So you just coat your cauliflower florets in that mixture. There's paprika, garlic powder, salt and pepper, minced garlic, onion powder. I put some lemon juice in. Basically, I picked all the best ingredients from the different recipes that I saw, and I just coated everything up and put it into my air fryer. I really like using my air fryer, especially for lunches, but sadly our family is getting too big for me to use this for just like one batch of fries to go with supper or something like that. So it's a little bit frustrating. I wish it was bigger, but I need to experiment more with my air fryer setting on my range because I know it can kind of do the same thing, but I haven't really done much with that feature. But into the air fryer they went. I tried to do 1 layer, but I kind of went gung-ho here and filled it pretty full. So I had it in there at 400 degrees for 10 minutes, and then you sauce it up with, I did homemade buffalo sauce. Actually, I was very proud of myself. I mixed up Frank's hot sauce and butter, tossed everything in that. Again, I'll put the directions down below. And back into the air fryer it went again for another 17-ish minutes. And I tried to shake it here and there just to, you know, kind of get it mixed up. And while that was going on, I made homemade ranch. Now this is a real winner. You might want to consider buying this cookbook. It's called Hope's Table. There's so many simple, easy recipes that taste way better than they really should with the few ingredients that they take, if you know what I mean. One of the reasons it's so good, I still contend, is the fact that I have parsley still growing in my raised beds outside underneath the snow. They're still green and delicious, and it just makes the ranch tastes so fresh. So by then, my buffalo cauliflower was done, and to be honest, guys, I was a little disappointed, a little underwhelmed. Definitely not buffalo chicken, that's for sure. I just can't quite reconcile the texture with the flavor. I don't know, it wasn't for me. I might try it again sometime, but I'm just not a buffalo cauliflower girl, sadly. But it was fun to experiment. Okay, when it comes to mac and cheese, it's pretty much for me like it is with chocolate chip cookies. I have never met a mac and cheese or chocolate chip cookie that I did not like, but I'm always on the search for the perfect recipe. I grew up with my mom making mac and cheese with like the Velveeta cheese, and it was so good. But I'm trying not to have Velveeta in my house anymore, so I've been on the search for a recipe for mac and cheese that's just as good but with real cheese in it. And so far I found that I think I prefer extra sharp cheddar and Gouda. That's really good. But yeah, even though I found 100 good mac and cheese recipes, I still want to find that perfect one. Like, I'm gonna keep looking, right? Like I am with chocolate chip cookies. They're all good. Like, why not try a new one every now and then, right? So I just want to make a quick stovetop mac and cheese for lunch, and I'm going to do it with my caraway pans. I have always been a stainless girl. That's the set I got when I got married 11 years ago. I'm also from Lancaster County, so of course I have some cast iron as well, but I've never tried nonstick pans before. Beyond, I think I got one from like a TJ Maxx or something one time, but I've realized you can't just buy nonstick pans just anywhere because they are full of really scary chemicals and ingredients. If you do any research, you can find all kinds of scary statistics about Teflon and toxic fumes that come from PTFEs. So you really have to watch what you buy when it comes to nonstick. And then you guys also know on my channel, I believe if you're gonna buy something new, buy the pretty version every time. That's what originally drew me to them, just their looks. But I did some more research and now I get to actually cook with them and use them. And so far I am absolutely loving them. Cooking with them is completely different than with stainless steel. Like your eggs basically float off of your frying pan. You only need a small amount of butter or oil. It's just a dream. It definitely, I didn't expect it to feel different cooking with them, but I've definitely noticed a difference. I chose the black and gold. I did love their white and gold as well, but I wanted a dark color because I know pans like get seasoned and aged over time, and I thought this would stand up better over time. But also then you have to worry about like fingerprints showing on the black, so I guess pick your poison. Either one works. They have some really other pretty colors too if you want to get a colored set. I would recommend if you're going to buy caraway to just go ahead and get the set because you're going to save 20%. I think that set comes with a saute pan, a fry pan, a Dutch oven, and a saucepan, and then it comes with 3 lids as well. And I love the hanger. I just hang it here in my pantry, and then I can just grab the lid when I need to. For the longevity of your pans, you don't want to stack them, so they did send along a sorter, which is really neat. You can kind of file them like books, or I just have the space that I don't have to stack them. I can just stick them in my cupboards and under my stove. I feel like with being a seasoned cook and a Mennonite mom cooking several times a day for my family, you know, many times in a week, that it's finally time I tried a nonstick cookware. Keep this in mind. Maybe if you need a housewarming gift, or I know my aunts often will go together and get a really nice gift for the nieces when they get married, so this would be a great option. Plus, it's not, yes, it's practical, but it's also beautiful, you know what I mean? Like, I was genuinely so excited opening my caraway box when it came. Yeah, I was just over the moon. Look at the coating inside even, it's just so beautiful. It's ceramic coated, which is naturally non-stick. Your things slide right off, like I said, and you don't want to cook with these on super high heat. But yeah, I think it's important that every homemaker has a good set of kitchenware that they love. So if you want to swap out some of your old cookware or your potentially hazardous cookware with caraway, right now you can save 20% when you bundle, plus you can stack that deal with my code to get an additional 10% off. I'll put the link in the description box, the code on the screen here, and you guys can take advantage of that. Let me know what color you have if you already have caraway, or what color you would choose. I mentioned on Instagram how I am testing caraway out, and a bunch of people jumped on and said that they love the set they have. I will say, first impressions, it's not as heavy, which I like. It's not as heavy as my stainless steel set, but it hasn't been burning any of my food. The bottom's still nice and thick. The handles don't get too hot to touch. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how I like it long term. I'm sure I will update you on my caraway journey in the future. So thank you, Caraway, for sponsoring this video. And again, you can get 20% off when you buy the bundle. Plus, with my code, you can get an additional 10% off when you stack that on top of your savings already. Is there anything better than a bowl of mac and cheese for your lunch? I will say it's not as good as the Velveeta version, just still doesn't have that same creaminess. So if anybody else knows the way to get that same mouthfeel creaminess without eating chemicals, let me know. Still very good though. I will link the recipe for you down below. I just made some of the best yogurt that I've ever had in my life, and I'm gonna share with you guys how I did it. Now, this is one of those oral recipes that's not written down. I actually got it from my sister. She talked to me on the phone, Snapchatted me, explained how to do it, and I took the time to write it all down for you. It's in the description box, and this is gonna be beginner friendly. I will warn you, it takes a little bit of time, but it's not hard. So just stick with me here for a second. It is absolutely worth it. So I just used regular old whole milk because it doesn't matter. You're heating it up to a higher temperature anyway, which pasteurizes it from what I can understand. So it's not like you have to go out and buy anything specific. I used this maple half milk and I put it in a Dutch oven on medium-high heat until it reached 180 degrees, or it could get slightly higher. But I just kind of kept stirring it and using my grill thermometer to keep track of the temperature. Then I turned the burner off and I just let the Dutch oven sit with the lid on till it cooled down to 115 degrees. I just kept coming back and checking it, and that took about 2 hours. So I started this process after supper. So I think that's the perfect timing. Also, while I was waiting for those 2 hours for the milk to cool, I got 1 cup of bought yogurt that had live and active cultures in it. Just look for that on the label, and whatever you have will work as long as it says that on there. Set that on the counter so it can become a little bit more room temperature while you're waiting for the milk to cool. So after about 2 hours, the milk will be cooled to 115 and your yogurt will be coming to about room temperature. You're gonna mix those together, whisk them with your whisk, and then set the whole kettle with the lid on in your oven with the light on. That's gonna create just a little bit of heat. I wrapped it in a towel as well, and then I just left that in overnight. So I started it after supper at around 6 o'clock, put it in the oven around 8. And this part you can kind of give or take 10 to 12 hours. In the morning, I got it out of the oven and I put it in the fridge with the lid on again. The lid's been on this whole time, and it cooled in the fridge for 4 hours. So this was about lunchtime the next day, right? After 4 hours, I bought these cheesecloth bags, straining bags, whatever. You can go on Amazon and just Google yogurt straining bag, or you can go to the link below in the description box and just buy the ones that I bought. They work great. And I put them into those bags, and then I have these handy dandy hooks on either side of the cabinets by my sink, and I just hung them on there with a bowl underneath so that they could drip. And the stuff that's going to drip out of there is called whey. I'm not sure what to do with it. I googled it. There's a lot of different things, but nothing really super useful to me, honestly. If there's anybody that's tried to do something specific with their whey and really liked it, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to use it to water plants. And then my sister said she likes to strain hers for 45 minutes, but I did 3 hours and it came out amazing. It was a super thick consistency. It felt decadent and absolutely amazing. Well, here, you'll see. Okay, the children are gathering around, but I'm noticing that it has a nice texture. My sister said I might want to run it through the immersion blender. I'm moving some of it over because it's too full to sweeten. It is so thick. Look at this stuff. Oh my goodness. I left it strained pretty long, like from 2 to 5, like 3 hours. So I need to write that down. That was a perfect timing. It's sour. Isn't it sour?
No.
Is it good?
Yeah.
No, I didn't put any sugar in it or anything. I didn't put any maple syrup.
We baked it.
You did? Okay, so we know that this is a quart. I'm gonna go the extra mile here, which I don't think I'm gonna do this every time because I hate getting a hand mixer out just for a quart of yogurt. But I'm gonna go the extra mile. I'm gonna whip it with the maple syrup and the vanilla. But first, I need to taste test it plain. Yeah, let's see what you think. You want some? Ooh, yeah. It tastes Greek, honestly. I'm impressed. It's not bad, you're right, Miller, but it's not sweet at all. Tablespoon of vanilla. I'm gonna do a 1/4 cup of maple syrup. You could do honey, but I prefer maple syrup, I think. There we go. Let's see if that's too sweet. If it's too sweet, we'll just add more yogurt, because I think you guys are gonna go through it really fast. Okay, it's not as white. Let's try it again. Wow.
Can I try it?
That is good. We will be making parfaits with this in the morning, that is for sure.
But mine?
Yep, you can have that one. Okay, I think I like that method. Honestly, it'll take a couple more times so it feels like it's second nature. The only thing I'm not sure about is sweetening it. My sister said you could only sweeten it a quart at a time. I feel like we'll go through a quart in one breakfast, so I don't know. I guess we'll do it her way this time, but I might start experimenting, you know? So today's kind of exciting. I try to once a month take coffees into my kids' teachers. I have 2 kids in school and they each have 2 teachers. So that's 4 drinks. So I'm making them right here, and I'll tell you kind of how I do it if you want to. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know how to make an iced latte. I do iced lattes because it's really hard to transfer 4 hot drinks 10 minutes down the road to the school and have them still be hot as the teachers sip on them and everything. So I just stick to iced lattes year round. And I talked to all of them, they all love them, and I've always said, if you don't want it that day, just pass it on to somebody else. There's always a teacher afoot that wants a coffee, you know? So I don't worry about that. Last year I would make the one teacher decaf, and that was no problem either, but I thought I'd go through the steps quickly to tell you how I do it, especially if you want to make a coffee on the go for a friend, or yeah, it's just fun to add a little coffee stop into your errand running routines to, you know, just surprise a friend or whatever. So I did make a special coffee syrup today, which is completely optional. This is absolutely my favorite coffee syrup. And this time of year it is perfect because it's still warm and cozy with the cinnamon, but it also has a little hint of spring with that citrus. This is called a cinnamon citrus coffee syrup, I guess. And you make it on the stovetop, and I love it because there's no sugar in it. It's actually maple syrup, and it tastes amazing. You have cinnamon, you have the orange juice, the orange zest, and you just simmer that on the stovetop for 10 minutes. Add your vanilla once you pull it off the burner, and then I put it right into a bottle. I made it this morning, and I'm taking these coffees to them pretty soon, so I actually stuck the bottle in the freezer, or I could just sit out in the snow here, but I stuck it in the freezer so it could cool down a little quicker because I don't want it warming up my coffee. Then I brewed 4 double shots, and I get a huge pack of to-go cups, lids, and straws off of Amazon, and I know it's like part of me dies inside knowing I'm getting all that plastic, but how are you gonna be hospitable, give out drinks and stuff if you don't have something to give them in? So the box is huge, it lasts me a long time, and we'll use them at home as well for to-go cups if we're hitting the road and we want to drink. They're actually really, really handy. Once you start having them in your life, you kind of don't want to go back. So I brew a double shot of espresso, and I had to grind my beans fresh this morning because I ran out of my last bag, and I use espresso beans from Mama Java Coffee. It is my absolute favorite coffee, and I would say in Lancaster County you really don't need to pay for shipping because we have so many good coffee brands around here, but Mama Java is worth it because it is, I don't know, the coffee is just so good. My friend runs it, she does an incredible job, and I know a lot of you live in areas where the coffee pickings are slim. Definitely try Mama Java. I have a code right now that you can use that's Megan5, and that'll give you a little discount to help you with your purchase. I always buy 3 bags at a time, and I use their espresso intenso. So now that my shots are brewed and just sitting here in, I don't know where I got this, honestly. I get them from, from the drive-thru, and then I just save them and use them over and over again to transport coffees back and forth. Like I said, I do this once a month. And I use different coffee syrups every time. It's kind of fun. I haven't made them this version yet this year, so I think they will be excited to try it. But after I feed the baby, I will get them all dressed and ready to go. Very last minute, I will use my Pebble Ice machine. I'll put Pebble Ice in there in the somewhat cold espresso shots. And then you're gonna make a mixture of 200 milliliters of milk, a splash or 2 or 3 of heavy whipping cream, and then 2 or 3 tablespoons of your coffee syrup, depending how you like it. Your total mixture should reach the 200 ml line, or that's basically a scant cup. So I'll use my little milk frother to kind of mix it all together and pour it in on top of the espresso shots, but I'll reserve just a little bit so I can go back in with my wand and really froth that up and get kind of a cloud consistency on the top. And then if the drink calls for it, I will put a sprinkling of cinnamon on top, which today of course I will. And it just has a really nice presentation, and these are disposable cups, so you could write their names on them if you wanted one for a specific person, whatever. Sometimes if I have whipped cream on hand, I will take the whipped cream bottle along in the car, and when I get there, I will quickly top them with the whipped cream before heading in so it looks nice and fresh. I'm telling you, presentation is half the battle, guys. But today I'm not gonna do that because I don't have any whipped cream on hand and didn't feel like making any either. Trust me, this drink is gonna be decadent enough without it. So there you go, steal those tips, use them for yourself if you have a child in school. I didn't really touch it on here too much, but my kids go to a private Christian school, so it's very different than public school. A coffee drink for a teacher, they will literally feel the love. So use that recipe, I'll put it down below for you, and all the directions. A few other things I made this week was baked potatoes. This is a favorite of ours, and I like to do it in the air fryer. I just toss usually russet potatoes in avocado oil, and then I like to use coarse salt. This gets the skin really crispy and just tastes amazing. Your kids will want to eat the skin if you do it this way, but I'll just load up the air fryer and bake them at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. And after that, I like to slice them in half and then just kind of serve them to the kids as if they were twice baked potatoes. I'll fluff up the potato in the middle, and then I'll add butter, salt, and pepper. And a couple of us like sour cream on it as well. And then the kids just eat them like a cookie basically. Pick it up, bite into that crispy skin, and then you have that fluffy potato in the middle. It's a favorite for sure. And I made this on a night when I wasn't feeling very well and we had leftover chili, so it kind of went good together. Also, some of my milk had been going sour. And so when that happens, I never throw it out. What I do is make sausage gravy, and I like to make a double batch so we can eat it for a couple of days in a row. It's great reheated for the kids for their breakfast in the morning. The key to a really good sausage gravy is to substitute the flour portion of whatever recipe you're using with country gravy mix. There's a sausage flavor, there's an original. I don't know, they're all really good, but use that instead of flour and your sausage gravy will be phenomenal. Another meal that came about just because we had pork in the freezer that we felt like we needed to use up. There were some pork loins, and so I just Googled a recipe and made a sheet pan dinner out of it. And since I had 2 of them, I made 2 sheet pan dinners, so I had more left over for later. This worked out great. And my kids will eat roasted vegetables. It's one of the few ways they love carrots. They won't eat them cooked, but they'll eat them roasted. And we were trying to eat through the meat in our freezer, and one of those ways was to make another whole bird chicken. My mom raised these chickens, and our favorite way to eat a whole chicken is to just smoke it. That simple. We have a Rectex smoker. Josh covered the bird with Dirty Bird seasoning from Cosmos, but you can use any of your favorite chicken rubs, and it really takes hardly any prep at all. He sprinkled some on the inside and then put it on the smoker at 325, which it used to be for 2 hours, 1 hour covered, 1 hour uncovered, but these birds are so big, we definitely had to go longer. Just check your internal temp to make sure it is completely done. But yeah, definitely leave it uncovered for at least an hour so it can get a lot of that smoke rolling on it. And then you just pull it apart, and there's so many ways to eat this. We just eat it the first night completely straight with, I believe I made potato wedges, another family favorite, and peas. And then another night we had them in quesadillas, and then I also like to use some in soup. It's just great to have a whole bird done towards the beginning of the week, and then we just find ways to use the meat up. Also, the best byproduct of a whole chicken is making bone broth, which I did not film making this because I didn't have a ton of scraps this time around, but it was amazing. You could definitely tell the bones were smoked, had a whole different flavor to it. So good. When you pour your broth into your jars, you're going to see a fat cap. Leave that on, and then I just store my quarts in the fridge and use them as needed when I'm making noodles or rice or whatever. I made a soup then the next week with some of it, but yeah, so good. And it felt free because I was getting meat right from my freezer. I definitely try to do a whole chicken at least once a month. So moving on to the end of the week, I wanted to take you guys along as I threw a little birthday party for my baby. He turned 1. And I just threw a simple little party. We had a lot going on this week, and this wouldn't have been the week I would chose to have my whole family over for the weekend. But, you know, birthdays are when birthdays are. So we made do, and it worked out just fine. So I really did as much as I could ahead of time because I knew that Saturday I wouldn't have a lot of time to get things ready for the Sunday party. I started by doing all of my baking because baking is really good done ahead of time. You can freeze it, and it actually makes it better. I made Hershey's chocolate cake for a little smash cake for the baby. And instead of making round cakes, because I wanted something really small, I decided to do a sheet cake and then use some little egg patty circles we had from camping to cut out circles to make the little smash cake. I also made a bunch of cupcakes for us to eat. I knew we were having ice cream bars just because that's a treat for our family, and it's also super easy, but I also needed some kind of cake, and honestly these cupcakes are a main staple in our family. I grew up on these. Basically it's a chocolate cake, but then you have chocolate chip and cream cheese mixture that gets dolloped on the top. I just used the cupcake papers that I had on hand. They didn't really go with the party theme or anything, which was airplanes. They recently changed the flight path of a bunch of airplanes in the airport close to us, and so now we get a lot of little airplanes going overhead, and the kids just love to see that, especially the baby. So that was kind of the inspiration for the party theme. But Josh made me a whole bunch of paper airplanes. I helped, but he's much better at it, so he did most of them. And I made this little airplane backdrop. I wanted to show you my little immunity drink here because I was just hearing about all the sickness going around and I wanted to stay on top of it. So I just mixed an Olipop with some Emergency and was sipping on that as I made this backdrop here. I also made a bunch of little paper cutouts to go on top of the smash cake. I wanted something simple that I could easily pull off because if you're new to smash cakes, you usually have to pull any decorations you have off so the baby doesn't, impale himself with them or whatever. So just some simple cotton ball clouds, some flags, and number 1, a candle, and I made a little wooden airplane that I thought was really cute out of popsicle sticks. And then everything else happened the day of. Sunday afternoon, we put the kids down for naps and Josh and I just went at it. I made a huge pan of mac and cheese, completely different recipe this time. This is from Hope's Table and it gets really good. It's a crowd pleaser and I love how you can put it on the grill. We smoked this, so I used cheddar cheese and Gouda cheese, and then when we smoked it, we essentially had smoked Gouda in our mac and cheese. It was very delicious and very hands-off. You just plop it in the grill and there it goes for 2.5 hours or so. And then while that was on the smoker, I got to work on decorating the little smash cake. I bought Mennonite icing that you can get in our area. That's actually very good. It's not too sweet like some are. And I just did a little crumb coat and then added more icing and did a little swirl design with a spoon. It was pretty simple. This was definitely not my best work, but we were on a time crunch. And then I moved over to do some flower arranging, which I did not show in this video, but while I was working on doing some flowers, you can check my Instagram out if you'd like to see those results. Josh was working on smash burgers. I really wanted to do wings because this was the evening of the Super Bowl and we are big Eagles fans, so you can imagine what a great night this turned out for us. But we decided not to do wings because we really wanted to eat meat out of our freezer. Are you sensing a theme here? It turned out really good. It was a very simple supper. We had some pasta salad and of course the main event was the smash cake. Happy birthday, dear Baylor. So I don't think Baylor was too impressed, but it was so cute. He kept saying hot, hot, which is his one word that he likes to use. Then he tried to climb away from it. Then after coaxing him and showing him how to poke his finger in it, he did take a little tentative poke at it and didn't know what to do. He wanted to get it off of his hand. And of course there were some overzealous siblings there trying to coax him and help him out. He seemed to like the cake, but he just didn't like to have his hand all sticky messy. Also, his little gift this year, since he's still not quite walking, I'm expecting him to walk here in the next week or two. We got him a little baby walker. We don't do a lot of these battery operated toys, so this was really fun and special and all the kids love to play with it with him. And he is off and away. Happy birthday, Baylor. What a week. I'm glad you guys could come along with me for it. I hope you enjoyed. And remember, use my code with Caraway to get 20% off of your cookware set and an additional discount with my code. If you have to cook today, I hope you feel inspired and that it's a fun thing for you and not just a chore. Thanks for being here and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.